Yes, people, and welcome to the first episode of the Be First podcast. Today's guest is the man who's responsible for making Boxfit UK the UK's largest and well-respected boxing superstore. The success didn't come overnight. It is decades of hard work. So, let's step into the ring and be first. Yes, people, and welcome to the very first episode of the Be First podcast. Today's guest is the founder, Mr Boxfit himself, Ken Mills. How are you, Ken?
Very good, thanks, Craig.
Good.
Very good.
Good. So it was only right that we had you on as the first guest, as you're the man that created this. But also it's good for people to understand your story, your upbringing, where you came from, sort of thing, and how you got to make this as successful as it has been. So take us back to the start, where you were born, where you grew up.
Okay, so I was born in Ilford, which is East London, in 1970. Born into a family that ended up being four boys with my mum and dad. Terraced house. I'd had what I call a normal upbringing. We weren't poor, but we definitely didn't have loads of money. But my dad worked really hard, and we did all the the things you did back in the 70s, which was to drive to Cornwall and have your summer holidays and stuff like that, which I remember fondly. So yeah, I look back with fondness on my childhood. Went to school in Barking. My junior school was St Joseph's. Then ventured up into secondary school, Cannon Palmer, which is in Seven Kings in Ilford. And through school, yeah, I was okay. I wasn't brilliant. I wasn't very academic. I was more drawn towards creating stuff. I was better than I was at, say, maths and English. So in the latter part of school, when the careers officer came in and said, what do you want to be? And you're 16 years old or 15 years old, and you think, I'm not sure. But I did. I wanted to be creative. So I actually went down the road of either architecture or graphic design. I ended up going down graphic design. That was my chosen path. So yeah.
And being a businessman now in your latter life, I'm sure at school you must have had some bit of entrepreneurial about you, maybe selling sweets and drinks or car radios like an Alan Sugar or something like that.
Yeah, wasn't car radios, but I was a salesperson. I did sell. Yeah, I had a number of different projects on the go at school. Some favourite ones. I don't know where I got them from. I don't even know where I got them from. I had some feeler jackets that I was selling in the winter. They were lovely, which sold really well. I had Lacoste badges that you ironed onto your school shirt, but the Lacoste was facing a different way. Stuff like that. But it was small stuff, but I liked that, the selling stuff. And my first job was in, well, it wasn't so much sales, but I worked in a retail environment. I had a job in an ice cream shop, and I was 14 years of age. And I enjoyed the face-to-face with people. I really did. I enjoyed that kind of rapport, regulars. So looking back, retail was kind of in me, but I didn't realize it was in me. And then as time went on, I used to go to the ice cream parlour in Ilford. People might know it, Rossi's. It was around for years. And then in the evening, I'd clock out of Rossi's and then go and clock in at the Wimpy and work there and do a night shift. So I wouldn't say I was massively entrepreneurial, but I was hardworking. I did graft. There was no doubt about it. I liked earning money, and then I could use that money to go and do other stuff with.
When you say that's come from your childhood, like your upbringing of working hard, you want things, you've got to work hard for it. Was that something that maybe your mum and dad passed on to you, or
yeah, 100%,
your brothers, or
yeah? No, I think working hard was in the makeup of our family. As I said, my dad worked really hard during his 5-day-a-week job, and then he used to work at the weekends as well for extra money, which back then you had to do. People still do it now, but so I had that from them, and we were in a structured environment. My mum used to run a tight ship. I remember, you weren't able to be a scallywag. You had to pull your weight in our house, even down to cleaning the kitchen floor with a green bar of soap and a scrubbing brush, which is really going back to the 70s. But we did it and we got on with it, even though we hated doing it. Uh, we did it, and I think that probably, looking back, shaped us as my brothers, because they've all been quite successful as well in what they do. I think it probably did shape us. So I put that down to good parenting, or at least parenting with structure as well.
Okay. So you touched on there in school. You went down the graphic design sort of route. So that was something that you wanted to go into. So start us off from there. You left school, and did you go into a graphic design job?
No, so I
Or
went to college. I went to art college. Did 3 years and got a diploma in art and design. And then with art and design, you kind of find your flow about where you want to be, whether you want to be a fine artist or graphic or whatever. And mine was more graphic, logos and adverts and that type of thing. And I had a Saturday job with in a ski shop, sports and a ski shop in Ilford. And one Saturday, I was just serving a guy with his family, and it transpired that he actually owned a advertising company, or he was a partner within it. And I just said to him, "Oh, that's what I want to do." And he said, "Come up, do work experience, see how you get on." So he gave me a couple of weeks up there work experience, and then said, "Yeah, I'll give you a job." So that was good. That was handy. So I didn't have to go through the formal process of looking for a job. But unfortunately, timing wasn't on my side, because in the early 90s, 91, there was a big recession, and that caused a real big problem within the economy of the UK. And the company I ended up being with shrunk to a much smaller size. They shut half of it down. They gave me another job, but yeah, it was with less money, and I was ambitious. I didn't want to be held back, so I jumped ship, went back to the sports shop, and just said to the manager, "Look, I'll come and work here until I find another job up in town." That didn't materialise because the recession had eaten into the economy, and people weren't advertising. So it then, as time went on, me and the manager there just said, "Look, should we just open up our own shop, do it ourselves?" So we started up a company called Sports Review, which our first site was in Ilford High Road, next to the McDonald's. It wasn't big, it was ample, but it was at the start of the crest of what I'd call the fashion side of sports. Back then we would have been like the JD Sports, doing brands that the aspirational side of
so
things.
how old was you then when you took on the Sports Review, your first
That was
business venture?
1992, so I was 22 years of age.
Wow, so really young to
Yeah, really
jump
young.
into
But
business.
I didn't think I was young. I didn't. Back then, I was, like I said, I was ambitious. I had fire in my belly, and I wanted to do stuff. I mean, I was married at 22 as well, so it was all happening. My first child was at 22, so yeah, I was eager to move on in life.
And so tell us a little bit about Sports Review then. So pretty successful from
Yeah,
starting off.
we had some fun years. It was when I say it was a crest of a wave, it really was. Timing's really big in life. And like I said, the 91 recession was bad timing, and then the flip side, this was good timing, because there wasn't many sports shops out there, or there wasn't sports shops out there with the fashion side of them attached to it. So we were bringing something to the market that was different. And I think as the world was moving, the fashion side was moving with it, and we were able to just be on that wave. Um, and it worked for 11 years, I think it was 13 years, something like that. We had it going, and the only demise was the fact that because this wave was so big and the economy and everything was growing really well in the UK, there was other people doing it. JD Sports, JJB, Sports Direct, which was Sport and Ski, and Foot Locker turned up from America. So they could see, if the Americans can see the opportunities, you can see we were just on this crest.
And did you say you just had the one store?
No,
we ended up
with 6, 5 sports shops, and then 1 clearance. So we had 6 units across from Walthamstow all the way down to Southend-on-Sea. So we went all along the A12, basically, Romford, Ilford, Basildon. So yeah,
and that ran for 11 years, did you say?
About 11, yeah. I think 2005 we closed it. So 92 to 2005, yeah, 13 years.
Okay, so then that leads us on to Boxfit then, I'm guessing. So
Yeah.
why boxing? So if you went from Sports Review, which was a bit of everything, to why boxing? What made you corner that market and start a business there? Because boxing, I'm guessing, back in 2005, 2006, wasn't the big spectacle that it is in these modern times.
No, definitely not. I think the draw was a number of different things. As the sports review we had was redesigning itself, and we were starting to move out of the fashion and move more into sports because we couldn't compete with the other guys. So we were bringing in tennis, we were bringing in rugby, we were bringing in boxing, and as that was growing, I just realised, or I just liked the people from boxing. I just liked their vibe. They were just good people to deal with. They were appreciative as well. I mean, my background is football. That's what I played as a youngster, right up until I was 30 odd. I coached it as well for 11 years, junior football. So that was my main big background. So I wasn't introduced to much boxing when I was young. Two of my brothers boxed, but not at any high level. My dad wasn't into boxing per se, but I liked the boxing world. I liked it, and I could see that it was never going to be massive and take the world on, set the world alight. But it was a sport that you could just work within and make a business out of.
So early days then. So when did Boxfit first open? What year?
So 2005 is when we formulated it, created it, and then the opening was 2006, early 2006. So we are actually going into our 20th year next year. So we'll be celebrating 20 years of Boxfit, which is a huge achievement. It is in the current climate, it's even bigger achievement. But I'm super proud of where we've come from.
So where you mentioned with Sports Review, you had people plodding along with, well, not plodding along, but coming into the game. JJB, Sports Direct. When you first started Boxfit, was there competitors there that you were competing with in early days?
Yeah,
to make things harder.
There was a couple. There wasn't as many as there are now. It's a different animal now. There's a lot more people online, a lot more accessibility for people from abroad sending stuff straight into the country. The eBays of this world create those markets. Amazon, obviously, we all know is massive, so that allows people to bring stuff in. But back then, I'd say there was probably 2 or 3. One obviously not too far from where we are. So there was competition, but it was healthy competition. It kept you focused.
And how did you compete with that then in the early days? What was because there was no social media as it is nowadays, or big fancy websites that we can get?
It was back to basics. You jumped in your car and you drove around, and you had a catalogue. Well, we created a catalogue, a printed one, and I literally went to every club, probably in the London area, and then fanned out to the counties, home counties, and then sent the rest to wherever they had to be sent. So yeah, it was knocking on doors. It was back to basics, introducing yourself, telling people who you were and what you're trying to do, and just being honest with people and saying, look, we just give us a chance and we'll provide you with the stuff you need.
And was it just a one store you obviously opened at first?
Yeah, it was Unit 10A, which is on this site where we are now. It's a much smaller unit than what we've got, obviously, because we've expanded. But yeah, it was a downstairs store and it had a warehouse upstairs, and it was just myself. There's a young lady that's worked with me for the best part of 30 years through both businesses, Vicky. She heads up all the internet team. Um, and then part time at the time was Doug. He was just coming in, but he had 1 foot in, 1 foot out. He was doing a bit of stuff in uni, but yeah, there was the three of us.
And so going back to the early days of Boxfit, did you, as you were ticking along, going door to door, did you think, oh, I made the wrong decision, or when you were delivering it and getting a bit of feedback and the phones ringing and orders coming in, were you like, no, I've made the right decision. This is the road to be on.
I think if I transport myself back, the first 2 3 years were not easy. They definitely weren't easy years, but they the momentum picked up quite quickly, and I think that's because people liked what we did, how we presented it. Um, the way we answered the phones, the way we dealt with the orders efficiently. I think they liked that, the fact we had it in stock, that type of thing. So it gave us an opportunity to impress people. And even though the first 6 months to a year weren't that easy, I'm not saying it was all roses. I used to pick up my phone and phone the shop phone thinking, why isn't it working? Because the phones weren't ringing. Um, but as time went on, reputation just grew. And people in boxing will know that everyone does know everyone, especially in the amateur market. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's such a niche community. A niche sport with a community of people that word gets around. So they say, "Oh, Ken Boxfit. Oh, he delivers well. You can get what you want. He's got good prices," and it just works from there. So the snowball effect works as long as you've got good foundations. You then get the snowball.
Well, obviously the early days, that hard work and graft between you, yourself, Doug and Vicky, obviously paid off, because here we are 20
Mm,
years later.
mm.
So without giving too much away, but what have been your successes to business, to making Boxfit this monster to what it is today?
I think what we've done is we've been able to build on the success and then reinvest and then grow and go again. Um, I could have sat there in the smaller shop and just thought, oh, well, this is it. It's all I need, just two of us, and just earn a living. But the opportunities were there to grow it. So we then took opportunities to move on to a bigger premises. Um, and then we introduced different factors to it. I mean, we've got a studio now, which you can come in and customize all your boxing ringwear. It's a standalone store. You wouldn't think, really, truly, you wouldn't think that even existed in the UK. Service, the pricing, the basics in business, the fact that we've invested heavily in stock, which means that we're fast at what we do, um, and just our overall reputation that we've been able to build over the years. I think that stuck with us, and then having a team around us, good people, because I can't do everything, so I can't be on every phone call, or I can't be talking to every customer. It's impossible. So having a good team around you is critical. So from when it expands out to Vicky, Doug, and now obviously Oliver next door in the custom studio, and then underneath or working alongside those three are then another team of people. So I think staff are key and paramount as well, just to any company's success.
And again, obviously, you said with Sports Review, along came JJB, Sports Direct, all these sorts of people chipping away at your business, so to speak. How have you been able to combat that with Boxfit and so many boxing stores throughout the UK now?
Um, it's not as fierce as it was when I had Sports Review, that's for sure. But it's just been, I think the main thing is back to what I just said. It's just sticking to your core values. Yeah, people turn up and they start to muscle in and take over regions and that. But ultimately, unless they've got the stock that we've got and the product knowledge that we've got, it's going to be harder for them to break into the market. I'm not saying they can't, but it's just a lot harder. And I'm quite confident that we've got that mix really, really good or really well, and that's part of the key to success. But I think all competition is healthy. I think competition focuses you, or focuses me anyway, on what I want to do. And I know it does focus you as well. I don't know, because we have conversations about this off camera. Having competition out there allows you to think, right, what do we need to do to make it a better experience for our customers? And I think the fact that we always think like that is the reason why we keep moving forward. Building 2 stores like this, which was 5 years ago now, that's forward thinking. And then our competitors, some of them have built stores similar to this. So you take it as a compliment. They've taken our design and tried to replicate it in their worlds. And I've always taken that as a compliment. So, yeah.
And present day Ken, if you could go back to 21-year-old Ken who first started off in business, what would you tell him? What advice would you maybe give him?
I think when you're running a business, a lot of business owners will know this, that when things are really good, they can be really good. When they're bad, they can be really bad. It's a bit cliched, but that is the truth. Always make sure you've got money set aside in case things go wrong, and just surround yourself with people that are like-minded, people that are thinking along the same wavelengths you are, because they'll make that journey so much easier. If you're trying to do it all by yourself, it's too much. It's too much on your shoulders, especially when you get to a situation like we are in now with 18 staff we've got. If they're not all like-minded, we're never going to be successful. It doesn't matter if they're the picker and packers of the internet. If they're not thinking we need to get out over so many orders per day, then, because that's what I'd be thinking, I need to get out whatever, hundreds of orders a day. If they're not thinking like that, then you're not going to be successful. So it's kind of growing that ecosystem in your company as well, where people are like-minded.
Would you also, how would you tell them to combat building a business but finding that balance of home life, work life?
Really difficult, that is, because I think my company and the people that work for me have probably benefited from that, because one of the biggest regrets I've had, or I've got, is running businesses, is that when you've got children, it's not a 9 to 5 job. It's not. You cannot be successful in 9 to 5. I'm sorry. Even if you're in the office at 8, you're going to be leaving at 6. Even if you go home now in the nowadays world, you're going to be back on the computer again, or you're going to be thinking about this, and you're not always in the present because you're so focused on growing. And I'm conscious of that with my own staff, with their young children. So I'm trying to find this work-life balance. But when you're starting a company from scratch, it's all or nothing. So yeah, your young family do lose out, and I've definitely got some regrets there, but not regrets that I could have changed. I couldn't have made it any better. I'm just so lucky that I've got a wife behind me who's super supportive, and she's done a fantastic job at raising my 3 children, but also has been there when she's had to listen to me ramble on about muck. So I thank her for that.
And obviously with business, I expect comes a level of stress and whatever else comes with it. So how would you tell you combat your health maybe
Stress.
to deal with that?
Well, I know we talk about mental health quite a bit now, and I wouldn't want mental health to be pushed to one side, but just because we speak about it so much, because it is a big thing. It does make a difference, and mental health when you run a company has an impact. there'll be your ups, there'll be your downs. You'll be under pressure. You'll have to stress. And I was unfortunate to have a serious operation a couple of years ago. And some people put it down to stress. It could be stress. You never know what these things are, but stress creeps in, and it's not a nice thing. And then your mental health, that's another thing, because you're under pressure just to run a business. I mean, a lot of people will look at us and think, oh yeah, Ken's a multi-millionaire living in Monaco, and because I'm not on the shop floor anymore. But little do they know that I'm actually up in an office upstairs running it from a different place, which has actually worked out better for the company. But equally, I had to come off the shop floor because it may have had a contribution, the stress. I don't know. But yeah, I think always be mindful of your health. Exercise. We all know that when you go to the gym and you box, when you come out, it takes away a lot of stress. So I couldn't be a bigger advert for boxing. And and I'm always telling people, non-boxers, try boxing, try it. It's good for your mental health. Saw it a lot in COVID as well, which was really interesting. The amount of boxers that we work with and we know, and how much their mental health got impacted during COVID because they couldn't train. It was really apparent. So yeah, it's something that I've always got one eye on, whatever I do.
So Boxfit, present from early 20 years later. I guess when you first started, you would never would have envisioned that because of maybe your past businesses. So you've done a fantastic job getting it to where it is today. Where do you see Boxfit then in the next 20 years' time?
Well, I think with the vision that we've got, I think international would be a great place to try and tap into. I mean, we've got our custom studio, which is probably 7 years old. Working closely with the manufacturers. I mean, we're working on a project at the moment with Everlast. I wouldn't say we're working on it, but we're working closely with them about how they design gloves and what we can help bring to the table. I love doing that. I love working with the brands and giving them feedback about what our customers look for, because they don't always know what they're doing, and I'd like to explore that a bit more. But at the end of the day, as long as all my staff that we've got here are happy and we can feed everyone, because like I said, it's not easy. It's never easy in the current climate. It's probably the hardest it's ever been. But there's opportunities, and we'll seek them out. We'll look for them, and we'll keep building.
Perfect, Ken. Thanks very much for chatting.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Craig.
Guys, thanks for listening. Hope you really enjoyed that first episode. Keep your eyes peeled on social media because we've got an action-packed guest list that will be appearing on the podcast very soon. Thanks for watching.